Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, I wanted to have kind of a bit of a sit down and chat with you and show you this original watercolor piece that I just finished to be a print at my upcoming conventions. I figured I would do a quick introduction to what I'm doing on screen, and then I will jump into the topic about art style and your brand as an artist. So I am using a combination of different watercolors. I actually started off with this little set that I had put together in a different tin. I think I have a video about that and I'll link that up above. That tin has a whole bunch of different watercolor samples that I've received from really great friends and other fellow artists, and I used that for the background, but then I was realizing I was getting kind of mixed results with what I was painting and figured I would go back to using all one brand tin. So I went to my Schmincke paints. This piece has been in the back of my brain for far too long. I have been wanting to do a panda piece, and specifically a panda illustration where pandas are falling out of trees, because that is probably the only thing that, no matter what kind of mood I'm in, if a video or GIF is shared with me, pandas falling out of trees make me laugh and smile every single time. It's the sort of like obliviousness that pandas seem to have, and they are always able to just kind of bounce back and climb up trees again, even though they're going to break and they will fall. It's always pretty funny to me, and so I wanted to create an illustration that sort of showed that characteristic of pandas, and something that I thought would be really fun and funny, and something that I could kind of pair a little bit with my sloth painting, which I also have a video of that, so I will link that up above. That's another illustration where there are sloths in some trees, and so I sort of took from that color scheme and that composition and wanted something that I could kind of pair next to it in case someone wanted to purchase both. I like painting things in sets, so that is what I am working on. I'll have the links down below to the various supplies that I know I used, and you can look there. Let's get into this topic. I didn't have a sort of formal list of things I wanted to cover. I just kind of jotted some things down, and I honestly didn't know what I wanted to talk about in this video, and I even considered making this about how to come up with things, you know, topics or things to discuss in YouTube videos, but I ultimately looked to a long list of various topics and things that I have recorded and decided to have just a little bit of a sit down and chat with you, and just share my thoughts on this idea of art style and your brand, and just kind of give you my few cents. Now, before we start, I wanted to give a little breakdown of how I'm sort of defining these terms, and the way I see it is your art style is kind of the cohesion you have along your portfolio, the body of artwork that you create, something that is a similar thread kind of throughout all of the artwork. Your brand is both visual and non-visual cohesion among your work and your presence online, your portfolio, your website, how you even discuss the work you do, and all of that. I like to think that an artist's brand is just an extension of their art style. I did come up with kind of 3 different points that I do want to sort of touch on. They're not super formal, and I just kind of want to discuss these various points. So I have realized that there has almost forever been this discussion about finding one's style. At least in YouTube videos I've seen in the art community, they're fairly popular. I feel like that question is asked a lot, especially for artists who are starting out and feel like they have been focusing so much on maybe improving their technique or skill that they don't necessarily have a style, and they're not really sure where to go with that. And there's always this sort of balance of improving your skill and kind of honing in on work that you want to do and a style and a sort of cohesion to your work. And I believe a few other artists have discussed the idea of art style recently and whether it's important or not, or if that is even something you should be thinking about. And I think it all kind of comes down to what you define art style as. In today's day and age, artists are very independent, and with the internet and social media and YouTube and Twitter and Instagram, a lot of artists are able to take charge of their career and be their own marketer and, to some extent, agent and things like that. Those are definitely still roles out there that play a really important part depending on the kind of art you want to do, but I think a lot of things have been placed in the artist's hands without being able to accurately reflect what you can do and have a little bit of cohesion. I think it can be a little confusing for viewers and possible customers or your audience to understand the kind of artist you are. And I do believe that there's a sense that if you don't have a sense of cohesion or have your own direction, you can kind of get lost in it. And so I do think it's really important to have some sort of style or brand, or I'm going to keep saying cohesion, to what you're doing. I think that's important for the audience, for you, and for other potential customers. Now, this doesn't mean that you can't have variety in your work, you can't try new things. That is and should always be a part of what you're embracing as an artist, and that's an important part of you getting better and this and that, but it's important to have a good understanding of where you're coming from and what you want to portray and the kind of work that you want to do, because having a portfolio with a mismatch of things can be confusing, but also might not really reflect the work you're most passionate about. So that is something I did want to mention. And let's get to a few points that I have written down on a little post-it note here. The first thing I wanted to mention with this topic, and maybe not how to find an art style, kind of starting that process, is really exploring what you like. That could be color, a particular color, it could be other artist influences of yours, it could be other elements you just really always kind of gravitate toward when you're doodling or sketching in your sketchbook. Really take it all in. Take a sec, reflect on the pins on your Pinterest boards, the things you're liking on Instagram, the different artists you're following, things in your life that are interest to you. That might seem really basic and kind of silly, but a lot of us don't take the time to stop and really reflect on what we like and what we're surrounding ourselves with, because that is ultimately going to expand into who we are and how we are relating to the world. And ultimately, that's going to come out in the work we're doing and a particular style. And my sort of definition of style versus brand that I'm kind of working with is an art style is, you know, sort of a cohesion among your work and pieces you have in your portfolio and all of that. And I think of brand or yourself as a brand, as an artist, is just a little bit of an extension of that, and taking those elements and being able to repeat those on your website, on your social media, on your Instagram posts, by like the filters you're using. All these little things are little aspects that make your brand and should always be reflecting what your art style is. On that note of having that being reflected everywhere and copied and pasted to create this cohesion over your website and your artwork and your social media, so that there is this sense of cohesion for the audience to see, my next point is to always be refining and repeating. So what I tend to do is I am always trying to refine and hone skills and be better and be improving but I do have a sense of style with the colors I use, with the elements I use, particularly plants and animals and things like that, and particularly succulents are a big one for me, and the work that I usually have available and the work that I love to do. And so you take elements of those, you know, you refine the things. So there's, you know, plants. Okay, well, let's refine that to succulents. That's something that I really love. Well, what I've done is I take those elements, I take little bits here and there from other art pieces, and I repeat that on my website. So I have little kind of my own clip art to be able to use on my website. I use the color blue as a filter on my Instagram post to make a cohesive timeline, and use the same filters and things like that there. I also use a filter here on YouTube. I've been using it for a little while. I use sort of a blue filter to kind of give all of my videos a little bit of that stylistic flair that speaks to my brand and then ultimately the artwork that I'm doing. My last point, I'm gonna try to make this quick because we're already toward the end of the video, is just be willing to change. Realize that you're not completely committing to something, and it should always be something that you really love, that you're attaching your brand and your art style to, so it shouldn't cause fear or anxiety, but realize that it's always okay to change as long as you are staying true to yourself and you're able to kind of go back and re-explore and then be able to refine and repeat and kind of repeat my sort of steps or points here. As long as you're always able to explore, you'll realize that you're always going to be changing anyway. That's how we are, we're humans. And being open to that, and as long as you are really being true to yourself, then your brand might change, your art style might change, but as long as it's connected to you and what you truly love, then your audience, and especially those that are your biggest fans, are going to be able to kind of move on that journey with you. And so you shouldn't fear that change, is kind of what I'm getting at. All right, we're already to the end, so I wanted to say thank you. I hope you enjoyed me sort of ranting about this topic. I thought it was sort of interesting to discuss. And if you like this video, make sure to leave me a like and subscribe if you want to continue on this art journey with me. Comment down below your thoughts on this topic, and I hope you have a creatively fulfilled day, and I will see you next time. Bye, guys.